And I was just saying to KP, that's how should I address you, KP?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
KP, do you go by name online, or online you don't want to be known by
Just KP. Yeah,
KP?
haven't boxed the name yet.
So I was just saying how young KP is, and for many of you, that might also come as the shock, because I was expecting 40-year-old men, and I'm getting 22-year-old, um, nearly teenager, not anymore, but nearly. And I'm a little bit embarrassing, because my beginning with KP was, from the argument when I was in the face of Fadin Kujira. And after a brief chat, which wasn't probably pleasant with KP, I got a block. And um, just recently we resumed some contacts. So I guess you will receive a lot of the compliments, not from Joe, because Joe, do you know Joe? Max Candle
Yes, of
Green.
course I know Joe. Of course I know Joe.
Yeah, so he's a little bit of hateful fella, but he's even older than me, so he will not handle your youth and handsomeness. But I think everyone else will be compliment you a lot. Let's start on the. By the way, where are you based? Is your
London,
location
North London. Yeah, that's
London?
why we're on the
Nice.
Arsenal as well. Come on.
Uh is our wait Arsenal London? I think my brother-in-law, who lives next door, usually just behind his bedroom, who is not here, is Arsenal fan.
Yeah,
So every Sunday he's watching football at night, because it's like at night here. But yeah, he is big Arsenal fan. A lot of Hong Kong people loves Premier League here. For So you live in the same city as Hans. Who
yes.
else? Like, dude,
And
you
Kujicast I've met before. Who else? Who else do I know from here? That might be
what?
it. I mean, so whenever I've done the meetups, people have come from all over England, really, rather than
Yeah,
just
so
being
I
based.
always thought like Kujira is big UK presence.
Mm,
Like I,
big
I
time.
was I was initially surprised, but then you learn, and like you have this meetups. Recently, you had the pretty big meetup, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. How many people? I think it was about. Well, we had 50 people say they would come. I reckon maybe 40 actually came. But it was good. I mean, people came from all over. People came from Portugal, from Switzerland, from I think someone said they're from Austria as well. So like all of these people come over to sort of just have some fun at a pub in London. So that was quite fun.
Did Hans come?
He did, yeah. So a lot of people have seen him. A lot of people know what he looks like now.
Because he's also undoxed, and I was so surprised, because I was passing London a few months ago, and I left the tweet who is in London, and the last person I could expect, which was Hans. and, and I meet actually Hans, which was like like never spoke to Hans. So, but it was just like 1 hour meeting, and I left more bullish after that, because after talking, he was like, he did really like give you impression like he cares, and he wanted to build something that will not take away the value from the people. He
Yeah,
was like really
for
caring
sure.
that like when he builds, I know like the people buy that. So like when talking about dilutions and so on. So yeah, that's cool. I need to speak to Kujikas. Those are also very young handsome boys, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, they are. Well, we've got that going with Wink, haven't we, as well? That anyone that sort of buys it is a lovely,
Yeah,
handsome. So
you're not developer, right?
no, not at all.
Yeah, let me now cut in, because I let him out. Yeah, come in, come in. I knew it's going to happen, right? So um but you got developers at Wink, yeah? I guess, because
There are some. Look, I'm only friends with the Kuchicast guys. I'm not actually involved with Wink myself
yeah,
personally.
because
But
everyone says like whatever happens in Kuji, hit up KP, hit up KP. Like I know you are not Kuji team, right? Everyone knows Dove, Hans, but I think KP is kind of character that everyone considers to be pretty much on pair with the Kuji founders, because you are so deep into that ecosystem and you know everything that happens.
yeah,
Um,
I think that's a fair estimate. I mean, I was actually I love to tell the story that I was with Hans the day before the chain started. So we were just in a pub in London, and we just running through all of the things that we needed to do to actually start the chain itself and get all of the validators ready to go and all of that. So I really have been here since the start, and I've been closely related to the founding members as well. I've gone out to see them in Portugal more times than I can even remember now. I've met with their families. I've played games with their kids, that kind of things. So something that you said where you said that Hans is like you can tell that he's there for the benefit of the people and it's not just for the benefit of himself. Now, I don't, obviously I'm very privileged to be in a position where I can go and meet them with their family and all of these things, but I get to see the things that they don't necessarily put out on Twitter and the general messaging that they put out. But I mean, you're spot on. They're very authentic people. They're very approachable people. And I think that comes across in everything that they do as well and the way that they conduct themselves online. So look, even at the meetup, people would come up to Hans, and he was very easy to speak to, and he's easy to have a conversation with. I'm sure you probably said that or had the same when you met him. So yeah, been there for a long time. Uh, very much in love with what we've created and just sort of the things that we're going for.
Yeah, so you said you met them before you met Hans just before the chain launch. So I assume you were pretty much from the early days of Kujira when it was on Terra, right? Like, was it when you discovered that, or even before you knew them that they are building something? How did that
So
happen?
yeah, that's a good question. So I actually I again like to tell this story because it's quite funny and it's just very typical British. So obviously they'd built on Terra beforehand, and within the Terra communities there are a lot of smaller sub communities, and I was part of the UK Terra group chat, which Hans was a part of as well, and so was Dove actually, even though he wasn't actually in the UK at the time. But so those guys were not really talking about Kujira at that point because it hadn't launched yet, and it was just very small. But we went to a UK meetup in a pub in this would have been sort of October, so the month before Kujira had launched. And I sat down next to Hans without knowing who he was. He didn't say that he was like this, developer for this new chain that was also this new protocol that was coming on Kujira or anything like that. He was just a normal guy at the meetup. And we got on well. I sat next to him the whole time, and we just had a nice chat. And then obviously fast forward a month, there was the announcement that they were doing their raise on Star Terra. So I got into the Telegram early and was part of the early bird like allocation or whatever it was. So yeah, it like just from there it sort of blossomed into now becoming an unpaid cheerleader at that point, right? I was literally just talking about Kujira 24/7 because Orca was just something so incredible to me and it made just a lot of sense. And then fast forward to the day that Terra crashed, I'd sold everything except for the Kuji token. And I said to Hans, genuinely as a joke, I said to him, I've sold everything apart from Kuji, when internship. And his next message was, do you know what? Depending on what happens with the peg tonight, we'll get you on board as a content writer. And then obviously, look, the peg fucking dropped, and a month sort of passed or a couple of weeks passed. But then the boys came back to me. They're like, look, we want to get you on board. We want you to start writing some content for us. We're happy to get you involved. And I only recently asked him why he actually said yes to it. And what you said was that you could tell that I was, part of the team before being in the team, if that makes sense. Like I was already there on Twitter every day, showing up and making sure that the people were aware of what they were doing and what they were building. So yeah, I guess that's sort of how I got
Yeah.
into
So,
Kujira.
um, y- were you able to sell Terra before complete Zero? Because you said depends of what, or was it like midway you saved yourself?
I saved myself a lot more than look, all of these UK meetups. The start is always right. How much money did you lose in Terra? And everyone sort of bonds over their trauma and all of this, right? But hearing their stories, it's like shit. I really did get off fucking
Yeah.
lucky out of everyone else. So yeah, I lost a bit. Well, I lost quite a lot, but in relative terms, I still had enough to keep me
Yeah.
going. Sure.
I had some USD. I didn't have Terra, and like I think I got off at 92 cents. Like it was already a few hours too late, but I just it was just the feeling that something's gonna happen, and I like didn't feel like I want to risk that. So I was quite lucky, but I didn't have much. I used UST as the token because of, as the stable coin, because it was already in Cosmos, well
Mm.
ingrained, and it was actually main token. Were you also investor in the money raise they did, or no?
Yes, on Starter, yeah, I was. I mean, those raises were strange to say the least, and in that you just didn't know if you were going to get an allocation or not. But that was literally the only one that I did get an allocation for. So, yeah, happy days in
Oh,
that regard.
that's nice. Congratulations. Like, I'm not sure if I can share that, but like, remember a month ago? No, it was a few months ago when everyone was crypto banter. He's been mentioning Kujira, right? And people were like, "Oh, you shield that because you want to dump on us," or something like that. And actually, I met Hans, and I didn't know, but he was his fund, I think, was one of the investors, and was like, he's the only one who didn't sell, like from the funds that were there. Like, whatever
Yeah.
people say, he stayed through all that when it went to zero, and he's still holding that, right? So
And you've got to respect that. Look, I
yeah.
I I've heard all of the shit about him as well, and I'm someone that isn't going to just ignore that. So it's not like I'm going to tell anyone that comes in and be like, look, listen to everything that this guy says and shills, because obviously that's dangerous. But in
Yeah.
terms of his respect to the Kujira community and the builders here, the guy has killed it, man. He like you said, the price had gone from, I don't know what his buying is, probably about 12 cents if it was private.
Mhm.
It went to $4.60 on Terra, back down, didn't sell a token. Then the chain dies, we get zero tokens back. It's peak bear market, and he still doesn't sell when it's at 30 cents for, we were at 30 cents for almost a month, maybe two
Yeah.
months. And now it's up to five, and he's still here. So yeah, I got a lot of respect for
Yeah.
that.
Like, so I'm the same. I'm not a fan of the guy, right? So I was actually like surprised to learn that. But like, whatever happens, if he shield Kujira, it's actually good because he has massive audience.
Massive, yeah.
um but but I think it would be very difficult for anyone to hold through all of that, especially after chain restart, when you can get few times the money you invested, like with something that you unsure anything is gonna happen, because like, a lot of apps in Terra cease to exist. And here is this blockchain that essentially is probably most popular result of the Xterra community. I don't want to say it's more popular than the Phoenix chain itself, but to me it like seems it might be on par, or maybe more popular than that, right? So were you like, so you said you were into Terra. Were you before that into any crypto, or Terra was your first venture?
First thing I ever bought was Terra at $20, and then sort of the next week it went from 20 to $4. So that was my introduction to crypto, which was nice.
Oh,
Um,
huh.
but, but yeah, I mean, look, then it went from 4 to 120. So who can
Yeah.
complain?
I have regrets that I wasn't part of this community, but also the lucky, because two of
Yeah.
my closest crypto friends back then, they were both Terra Maxi. And when the DPEC happened, they were they were staked. They're fully staked. The UST was in Anchor. The Terra was staked. So they just had to painfully see how it goes to zero, and they kind of left the crypto after
Mhm.
that. Um, um, and they were keep saying, "Yeah, I come back when the bull market resumes." And I just keep telling
Tell us
them,
when they
"Hey
come back.
guys, I'm 4x on this one. I'm 10x on this one." And, it always come unexpectedly. But also, like, respect to you, because you stayed few years in solely in that community. So I'm one leg in, because I'm in many different projects, but you are like solely focused on this one, and you guide everyone. You had some drama yesterday. I didn't know. There was this PLNK token that was recommended to me, and then it went up. And today morning, I get up and it went all the way down, and I don't know what happened, but I saw the tweet that someone from that team um, said you are toxic, and right after that tweet, the price went down. They compared you to Jacob Gadican, even, I think,
Which,
right?
how dare you? First of all, like that is crazy. But yeah, they did.
What happened there? Like, if you can, I know you passed that already, but there might be 5 people who is not past that. Like, they don't
Yeah,
know
yeah.
the details, right? So can close the beef.
Sure. So you said at the beginning that when people talk about Kujira, a lot of people will say, go to KP and ask him this, ask him that. So I've been getting this all sort of for 3 or 4 weeks, 5 weeks. Why aren't you talking about Plink or Plankton or whatever? You're talking about every other one. Why aren't you talking about this one? And I bit my tongue because it's not my place to say these things. And I'm sure you realize that's this now that your platform's growing. You as soon as you're in this position of influence now, you have to be careful about what you say or who you say it to. So I hadn't been saying anything for a while. The pure reason being that I knew that the guys behind Plankton were also behind, or some of them were behind Kujirans as well. And Kujirans hadn't delivered this game that they'd promised on the start, which was about a year ago. Which I don't mind. Like if you promise a game and you can't deliver it and you bit off more than you chewed, that's fine. At least you've been honest about it and whatever. But then don't go and try and launch another coin with a load of new promises and expect me to then want to talk about it. So obviously, just from having these comments given to me, it's like, okay, well, why aren't you talking about it? I knew that I had to eventually. So it was sort of tongue in cheek. I said, respectfully, if you guys can deliver on these promises, because the promises are big. They're talking about games, casino games, gamble fight, all of these different things, right? That would be fucking sick for Kujira. Like if that works and it's a spot on product, unreal. And I've been the first person that was asking for gamble fight 6 months ago. I'd love that to be on Kujira. But if there was a history of you not delivering on promises, then I felt the need to say, you look, you've promised a lot more again. You hadn't delivered before. I'm going to reserve any sort of judgment until then, and then, and then I'll perhaps reconsider my position and start talking about it again. And obviously that was taken the wrong way by perhaps only one person, which is why I feel somewhat bad for the rest of the guys in that team. But yeah, I mean, look, you can't treat someone like they did in that reply with so little respect and expect me to just not react to it, right? So yeah, I don't know. That was sort of the gist of it all, and
Yeah.
then it all just sort of broke down from there, went into name calling and whatever. But I'm past it. I really don't mind. I even put out a tweet today that was like, look, if I hope that they prove me wrong. I hope that they deliver on these things because it's a net benefit to Kujira. It's a net benefit to everyone in the ecosystem. And yeah, I'd be happy to
Yeah.
see it.
By the way, I want to ask if the quality of the video is okay, because I noticed I'm connected to the wrong Wi-Fi, which is slightly slower. So, am I pixelated or anything like that?
For me, you're
Yeah.
fine. For me, I don't know if you're asking the
Oh,
chat, but
okay.
yeah, for me, you're fine.
Uh, okay, then I'm not switching, because I could switch, but I would drop for 5 seconds. If it's all good, I'm not gonna reach that. Funny enough, like Kujirans is one of the first thing I got onboarded to Kujira. So our history, and then I wasn't really talking about Kujira anymore. There was some open source fad which I like also, and but as I kept going, the guys from Kujicast, and I said that before, they actually were keep engaging and so on and so on. So I like kind of like start talking on Twitter responses to some Kujira guys, and I was like getting familiar with this way, despite I wasn't even the guy who's been talking about this, but rather guy who's who wasn't speaking right tones about this, right? And but then I saw more NFTs, Kujira NFTs being deployed on Stargaze, and I'm affiliated with Stargaze, so I was like, I'm gonna buy some of them.
Mhm.
And the first ones I bought was Kujirans, and it was quite many. I sold some of them because they actually moved away from Stargaze. So But I still have bunch. I think they went to white whale, right? Something like that. They launched on
Yeah,
the
that's it.
so if that would be on Kujira, I wouldn't mind, but like I don't hold anything on the white whale. I don't know much about this, and I didn't know that the plank is affiliated with that, but I do know that Kujirans wanted to do the game. And you mentioned Gamblefy, uh which like I do think there is big niche in Cosmos overall, and perhaps Kujira is best crafted for this because you so why is great, it has the USK, right, and it builds overall stable coin liquidity. For Gamblefy you can build the kind of vault where people deposit collateral, right? And this vault is the rewards, the pool where rewards get distributed. But of course, in Gamblefy, people lose, so there is additional yield. And I was thinking, Kujira is perfect for that. It made me think. I'm not sure if you heard of this. There is Winner Protocol. It's
Yeah.
on Arbitrum, and I quite like it because I think it's complete degeneracy that doesn't exist in Cosmos. But I can't imagine it will happen on something like Neutron, because I think Neutron will be more focused on Ethereum and more of like lending, borrowing type of DeFi. But Kujira will be more for the degens with upcoming perps and so on. Hey, why not make another app which has even more risky things, right? So yeah, I'd love to see that on Kujira. But as you said,
And
like
so would I.
it's been a while for nothing happened, so it's still just the NFT. um Not Arbitrum Cook, but I like Arbitrum. Have you ever used Arbitrum?
Myself, yeah, I love Arbitrum. I was
Yeah.
well, not part of, but the migration to Arbitrum for Kujira was for the most part myself and a few others in the community,
Oh yeah,
because
like yeah, the
massive
Kujira is on
thing.
Arb. So I'm big fan of the Camelot decks.
Myself too. Yeah, actually, I
Yeah.
say that for actually LPing, it's pretty tough, right? The UI for the SP NFTs and all of that, it's not necessarily that intuitive.
Oh, that's cool you said that, because I was speaking today. Camelot is the best decks for me, right? So, and I don't want to hate on other decks, but like because I got used to this SP NFTs, so you log them, right? They have also the not all of them are the SP NFTs, right? There's vaults and so on. But what I really like, um, I don't want to say they were probably the first after Uniswap to have concentrated liquidity, but they were files that built within the platform the vaults on top, so that rebalance by themselves. So we have vaults providers and so on. And I'm not sure if Kujira has this. I could check now if Kujira is part of those vaults, right?
We've got DeFi Edge doing the Kuji USDC and Kuji ETH ones.
Yeah, so this is not like you don't have this implemented in the UX on Uniswap. I think you have to create your own vaults and
Yeah.
like find providers somewhere else. What's cool, Astroport did something PCL, so this intuitive. You don't see even provider. So that's what Astroport did better than Camelot. But Camelot is on forefront of that, like paying dividends here, having those vaults, having the Grail. They don't call it Grail Wars, I think, but like they quite innovative, and they also try to bring the Cosmos assets. So by the way, Kuji does few hundred APR there, or APY, and also it's incentivized with Arbitrum. So Camelot is one of my favorite decks. They're
Well,
like,
so I was just about to mention that actually because of obviously being the first, I think they were the first decks on Arbitrum, but they've now got massive connections with the Arbitrum Foundation themselves. So their grant that they got is massive, and it's the
yeah,
only reason that Kuji has so much liquidity on Arbitrum. And in fact, we have good liquidity, but we've also got insane volume on Arbitrum as well. I mean, we do between sort of 2 and 3x the liquidity every week. So I mean, it's been pretty successful over there, and the Camelot guys are really good guys. I enjoy speaking with them every time.
yeah.
Just in terms of support for us, they've been sort of nothing short of Well,
Yeah,
incredible.
there is nearly 500,000 in liquidity, in Kuji liquidity with ETH and USDC.
Which is
And
wild.
I think what Kuji guys, right, and also Camelot guys do for Cosmos is amazing, because those are the first one that try to broad Cosmos. So you spoke with Iron Boots.
Yes, yeah.
It's amazing guy. I love him so much, because like the first time he started listing, and it was, he just sent me DM, hey guy, like hey, hello sir, like we tried to do our part for Cosmos. And I was like, why the founder is messaging me from the ecosystem? I don't know. And it was so nice that I started covering like Camelot, because then it,
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna check it out. And that's how you onboard. What would be really cool to have bridge and being able to bridge the Kuji to Arbitrum, which you can't really do that, right? You have to
It's wrapped. It's
um
Axelar or whatever it is. I think it's like an Axelar version of it.
oh yeah, like so you don't have to transfer that. And I think fee bridge is not that expensive, right? What's the XLR bridge now?
$1. I think it's $1
Oh,
for a bridge at the moment.
yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, so I love seeing that synergy. I'm shitting Camelot too much, and I'm surprised 30 million market cap, and I don't
I
want to.
have a lot.
Yeah, like TVL is huge, and I'm like, some exchanges have like $1 billion, and they don't have the vaults even for concentrated liquidity. And I'm like, I don't know, the markets make no sense, right? But it is
Say
what it
that
is.
again.
Do you know anything about perps on Kujira? I don't want to confirm that, but Hans said, when Hans was giving me example, he was mentioning 100x. Do you think Kujira will enable that much of the leverage? Have you spoke to them about like what's the design? If you
Uh,
have some insight into that.
I don't have insight into. Well, I don't know what I can say about some of it. In terms of like the amount of leverage, I don't think it's. I assume that you're only limited by the amount of stable coins that you can actually give out, right? So I I mean the short answer is I'm not sure. I'm not sure. 100x possibly, but yeah, I'm honestly not too sure.
Yeah, so like I heard that, but maybe that was just example. But I do think it would help a lot in Cosmos, because I
Yeah.
think it's perfect chain for high leverage and for degen trades. Um, do you know if any of these Kuji native applications was inspired by other applications, or they mainly just come up themselves with that?
Uh, I I mean, a lot of them are well. So the sort of chronological order that these things have uh, released in kind of makes you think that the answer is no to that, because obviously you start with Orca, and then you get Fin because you need an exchange to just buy and sell the assets. We don't want to rely on another exchange, sorry, another chain anymore. So then they make this chain, sorry, this exchange, but they need liquidity for the exchange. So then they come up with Bo, which is obviously all of these things aren't necessarily new. Other than Orca, none of them are new. They've just got their own spin on it that
Yeah,
makes them composable within Kujira itself. Um,
it
yeah.
it didn't make sense at the start, but over time it makes sense to build all of this application within platform, because each application like complement another one, right? So you need one application to deploy the other application and so on. And Natsac, obviously, I think Natsac is novel, right? Is the
Yes, yeah, I've never come across anything sort of like it. I mean, perhaps there is a small one somewhere. I mean, if there was going to be anywhere for it, it'd be Ethereum, and that place is just so vast that it's hard to get a hold of. But
Yeah, I didn't see anything like this on Ethereum, so that's what I was thinking. Wow, this is genius idea. I was even like speaking with on the spaces, like how these guys come up with this, because I think
well,
that also.
you've met Hans, right? You've
Yeah,
met him. Like that's how he comes up with it. That man, I'll say this to anyone that will listen to me, but that guy is the smartest guy I've ever met by a country mile, and it's more
yeah,
than just being able in order to do these things, right, you need to be obviously an Unreal developer that can convert English thought into programming language, but you've also got to have a good basic knowledge of economics as a whole, of DeFi as a whole, of just like, actual critical thinking and analysis of what he's doing and the potential knock-on effects of it as an entire ecosystem. It's wild. Like the guy just has a natural understanding for just everything. So
Yeah,
I don't know how does he do it. I don't know.
that didn't make sense because like he's technical, so he's developer, yeah, and developers don't want to, like, many of them are not necessarily creative.
Yeah,
And when you think of Natsack, like that requires some sort of creative thinking, like, because I would not come with the idea that, hey, we can actually make something better for the LSD tokens, right, for liquid stake assets, can unstake them, and we can find this tiny margin that will ensure you get better rates. Like, who come up with this? Like, this is absolutely genius idea. And like like, as I said, like Hans is like Renaissance man. He not only dev, but he figure out this great ideas.
yeah,
This
no,
one's,
for sure.
yeah. Uh yeah, like you on Kujira include the airdrops to APR. It's a little cheating, don't you think?
I've seen both sides of the fence. In my opinion, is it real revenue? Uh, is it revenue? Probably not. Is it real though? Is it real yield? Yeah. In that you can't sell that airdrop for it's not fake money. Someone has to go and buy it from you, and you've been airdropped it because of recognition for either securing the network or doing XYZ things, being part of the community in the first place. So, is it money that you get for staking? Yes. Is it the flip side of it is if you stake now, are you going to get 26% APR? No, because you're it's backward facing, right? But I don't think there is a right answer for it. How do you dress this up in a way that pleases everyone? It's the same thing with APR, right? The APR of these pools isn't APR. It just goes up and down with whatever it is on the day. So yeah, I don't know. I think you can pick and choose what side you,
Yeah.
you want to be on. I'm on the side that is maybe it would make people happier if they knew what just pure revenue in terms of fees, liquidations, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That would be useful for some people. But I don't think it's disingenuous.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, for me, like, I don't see it as the revenue, but I don't mind is it displayed, right? It's like I understand that's the marketing. So you as the community guy, right? Like, do you have any intel in like the planned listings? I know there was a lot of community people that were trying to advertise that for exchanges. Let's say I know even Crypto Banter was trying to do something. Do you have any informations if the exchanges are gonna happen? Um,
Oh,
of
yeah.
course, I
So
know that there is no money to give to market makers and so on, which I assume that's the obstacle. But do you have any intel in discussions with exchanges if more access to Kujira is planned, so on?
so personally, I'm not involved in those conversations. That's just the core team themselves, right? So they'll be the ones that go into these calls and pitch Kujira and try to get it listed and whatever, or at least just negotiate these terms, right? But all of the things that I know as much as you do in terms of just what has been put out, except that I'm in a privileged position to know that that is the case. This is true, and it's not just people just putting it out for the sake of it.
Mhm.
So yes, they are talking to exchanges. Yes, they are at least now developing to further stages than it was before. Because we were getting a lot of shit before, to be honest, where it was like, you're not doing enough volume. So then we did more volume, and it was like, well, you don't have a good enough story and narrative. So then it was like, right, well, what do you want from us? You're listing XYZ token for a load of bollocks reasons. So it just wasn't clear what we weren't doing. Or I suppose it is clear now that it's just you weren't paying 500 grand or so for it. But
Yeah.
I think at some point these exchanges are going to see that. Well, first of all, Mexi is the only one, and these guys are taking all of the fees from it. And if they are market making on their own exchange, the slippage is, you see the wicks on Mexi are insane. So these guys are making a killing off being the
Mhm.
only exchange to list what is now almost, yeah. I don't know if we are on the top 100, but we're pretty bloody close to it, if not. So
Mhm.
yeah, Are we talking to them? Yes. Are we progressing to further stages? Yes. Do I know exactly what? No, because I'm not part of those conversations myself.
Yeah, I think most require the market making fee, which usually like big allocation in the native token, at least the loan, which
Mhm.
we know this money doesn't exist. There is no money to be given. The Kujira was definitely trending, right? It's like one of the largest Cosmos chain. But I think a lot of Cosmos chain actually struggle with that. And you can see like the ERC20 shit coins get listed left and right. And you know that there was fee paid,
Mm.
or whenever Binance invested 20,000 at like 1000x discount into the token, they will list that as well, right? To market make
Mm.
themselves to dump it later. So yeah, hopefully it's going to happen. Someone mentioned in not. Um, Uh, so yeah,
Sure.
I wasn't talking about this yet. So you made the NFT you launch on the Stargaze, and I have the problem with this NFT. So like you can make your case, because it's just like why anyone would buy the NFT, because let me understand, you sold the NFTs, you take the money, um you matched it with Kujira, you got that offer from Kuji team, right? They
Yeah.
matched it, so you can earn the yield. So that's the benefit of that, because you essentially double your money at the start. um but that's also like not really innovative money making strategy, and unless I'm missing something there, because it could be the same like, hey, why don't we add to the pools ourselves and earn that yield, right? So what's the benefit of your NFT? You can speak anything about them, but that was my thing. I couldn't understand.
Sure, yeah. So just to explain how the yield aspect works, then we give out 50 USK each week to 5 holders. The mint was 50 USK itself. So if you are one of those lucky people that are, picked as the lottery, you get your mint back just free. But more importantly, if the mint only cost you 50 USK and you put 50 USK into a Kuji LP or any LP, you're not earning 100% APR. Or, you might for some of the smaller pairs, right?
Mhm.
But you're not earning it. So in terms of it is, I guess, sort of gambling as well. That you're like, okay, am I going to get lucky and hit this lottery this week, and therefore have earned my mint back, got 100% APR on my mint in the first place, and then been a part of these, the storyline and the competitions that I've been running, because we've given out. I think up to this stage, probably close to 2 grand. I've got another 2 grand to give out in the last 2 weeks. So just through being a participant and part of this community, it doesn't even need to be the Penguins community. I've obviously included other NFT ones as well, but yeah, the thing with NFTs is that for the most part, you just buy them because you like what they look like. And I said this to people beforehand. Look, some of you are going to like it, some of you are not. It's AI generated. I'm not going to hide from that fact. The main purpose of this is to raise liquidity for Kujira, and if you don't like that, don't buy them. So I think a lot of the interest from it came from a place of community aspect as well. So a lot of people just wanted to provide liquidity to Kujira, double, right? Because if they just provide it, they provide 50, whereas we're getting 150 from the team as well. But then on top of that, you get this chance of getting this yield every week that is compounding up, and it's 50 USK now, but it might be 200 soon, and and so on and so forth from there. So that's sort of the value prop, I think.
um this actually, like, so this part about community being really deeply engaged into putting liquidity, but also the team, um which is something I really enjoy seeing in Kujira, because whatever the TVL is right now, it's come from like this effort. That's why it's keep going up. While in Cosmos was like a little bit different before, I felt whenever blockchain launched, there was like high incentives of the tokens that doesn't cost anyone anything, right? Like, let's inflate them and give them more to the users, so users can only provide liquidity. But it's different. You could easily have the team and match it, right? So tell them like, hey, you do this, we match it, so we can together build that liquidity. And it's something that first I seen within Kujira ecosystem. I think Manta was doing this, like is
Mhm.
doing this, successfully. So Manta is also like um, one of the main projects on Kujira, and they actually built a lot of liquidity on Kujira via exactly these actions. Uh, with the NFTs, I wonder if there are better strategies, right? So as the perps launch, I think there will be chances for the good yield. Do you plan to repurpose that funds, or those stay in LP forever, and there might be something more you create?
I'm not tied down to the idea of just keeping it here forever, and if there's something that is more beneficial to Kujira, then I'll do that. But that would be my priority rather than trying to find the best yield within Kujira and having to be nimble with it, because we're talking about $100,000. It's not a small amount that is very
Yeah.
easy to just pick up and move and put XYZ. So yeah, I do right by Kujira before chasing yield kind of thing, but I'm not at all tied down to the idea of moving it to other things.
Is it still 100K around, or
It's,
did it?
it's probably a bit less now. It's probably about 85, maybe 90. I haven't checked, but it's probably about that.
Okay, so you were unfortunate in like adding liquidity when the price was higher, is it? Like it would be like way nicer when you added when Kujira was at 1 or something, then it would just
Well, it
explode.
would have been great. Yeah, we'd be sitting on a lot more now for sure. But I mean,
Yeah,
look, it also fed into the interest of the mint itself, because if we'd have launched at $1 when the only interest in Kujira was within the community itself, and then we go from 1 to 4 or 3 somewhat overnight, and the mint day was literally pretty much at the local top at that point.
yeah.
So general interest in Kujira was massively high. Yeah.
Are you still studying?
No, I'm graduated now.
Right. Because someone was asking about your writing. How did you get good at writing? Because you have talent to easily breaking down or explaining things. So I was trying to think what's your background, right? Like if you don't mind sharing that, or just
Yeah,
you use Twitter
sure,
a lot.
sure. So I from quite a young age, I enjoyed creative writing, as in just sort of like I don't know, making stories or whatever. But I never did it in a more professional education manner. I studied maths, chemistry, biology, and then went and did biochemistry at university. So it was pretty far away from anything to do with writing. But I guess part of my dissertation is having to write a report for it, and you have to explain these insane sort of scientific calculations and XYZ different things in a way that people would understand. So I guess that definitely helped with it. But no, I don't know. I think it's just always come very naturally to me to be able to explain myself in a way that
Yeah,
other people can digest.
yeah. And you created something that meant to help explain things, right? Which is Wink. Is it you are the founder?
No, so close. I founded Kujira Academy, which posts all of our articles on Wink on Wink Hub.
Mhm.
So Wink is the Kujicast guys, and a few people in the background as well. So they've created this website to act as sort of our publisher, basically. So anyone within the Kujira community can post their content there, and the fact that it's hosted on our own platform, then we the search engine optimization and just backlinking and all of this, it just works better for Kujira to host it ourselves rather than have it on
Mhm.
Medium. So that's where Kujira Academy has come in, and we've well, yeah, I don't mind speaking about Kujira Academy for a little bit.
Yeah, so it was Kujicast funding that. They are the founders.
Founding, yes, yeah,
Yeah, but so I assume they have some developer. I didn't think they are developers, right? Or they
yes, they do.
right. And if you can break it down, because I didn't. Oh, I actually bought Wink, but like 500 USK worth of. So I didn't buy much. It I think it went up because it's something that I don't necessarily understand, because it's like I think no one found the really way to reward people, right? There was like, it's very straightforward. Like I think people go and be like, I give you some tokens, or I give you some money, right? But there is not really a platform for creators or educators and so on. So I'd like to learn, like, if you are a creator, right? Like this guy Max Candle Green. um uh we're not talking osmosis, Max. um Max is commenting, why should anyone use Kujira when we have osmosis backed by the team of over 30 individuals dedicated to reproducing Uniswap novel features? We'll address that in a moment. But like, if Max, right, or his friend Joe wants to build content for Wing, right? Like, how does it, how could that work for him?
So the the thing with Wink isn't necessarily what it is now. It's more what it could be. So I don't, again, I can't really speak for that team. I don't know. I know that they were looking for or looking towards some sort of, um, like paid content creation, right? So you as a user, if you want to read this, you have to pay, and the user who's writing it then receives it, and blah 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 blah. That's not the case at the moment. That isn't something that is released at this very moment in time. But what makes me so bullish on Wink is what it could be, and the potential for what it, what these guys are building in the background. It's not something that I know everything about. It's something that I'm very keen to go and meet these Kujicast boys, and sort of pick their brain about it. But you can certainly read between the lines of a lot of things that have been said online, by by the Kujicast guys, by Dove, by all of these people, right? That you can come to a pretty reasonable conclusion of what it could be. But I'm not going to say the quiet part out loud just in case I'm wrong, because I know I've been fucking slated for it already in the last sort of 24 hours. So I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah,
But no,
maybe I
if
think.
you're the sort of incentive to create content at the moment isn't necessarily paid in tokens, and it's some like Patreon style protocol, right? It's more just you build up this portfolio of written content that is published to everyone in the Kujira ecosystem, supported by everyone here. You build up this portfolio that you can then go and use to, prospective employers and be like, look, this is my content creation. Because this is how I got my job at Kujira, just putting out content for free, and yeah, just going from there.
um yeah, like I still try to figure out how the creators can be funded, right? Like, I'd love to have my own, like, could go to the Wing and have my profile where the people can go to me, right? Like, example, I don't know, Dove, and anonymously maybe drop a proposition that nobody sees, right? Like, hey, we need content on this, here is the offer, like something like this. That would be pretty cool. Because, as I said again, like, it's only one way. It's like the founder comes to you, or like, or some grant program on offer you money, which I think is not very efficient. And when we speak on Max, actually, not Max, but his friend Joe, for example, he received money from the Atom Accelerator DAO, which caused complete fallout of our friendship, because I didn't receive, but I didn't apply. Which does, I don't think those programs are efficient, because they cannot evaluate value, right?
Yeah,
Because so people were saying before, hey, we need to fund content creators, like, that's okay. And then people
yeah,
say, but we need to have a grant program. But then they create a grant program where they have people that know nothing about running grants for the content creation. They know about grants of software development, and then they, like, don't know the rates or anything, right? But
yeah,
the
yeah,
founder itself will know how much he value the content, right? So he might offer, like, someone, hey, this is $1,000 here. Like, if you could make this video, you like you claim it, or whatever. I'd love to see something like that, because I don't, yeah, like, I think this space is really dry now. I see on different blockchains people try to develop, but they um but I don't think those other attempts were successful. And
No,
that's
I
enough.
agree.
I saw those Kujicast boys, dude. They are on some anabolic stuff. They are like,
Fucking Max is a huge cunt. Honestly, he's
yeah,
massive. He's massive.
yeah. I see
Damn, he's
the,
right.
like, he's on some Trenbolone or something.
He would not be happy to hear that. He's gonna start fighting you after
No,
this. I
I'm
promise you.
joking.
No, no, genuinely, get those boys on, because I'm sure they'd love to talk about
Yeah,
everything that they're
super
doing
nice
with
boys.
things.
I think they are like highly responsible for onboarding me to Kujira.
And so many others too, for sure.
So I'd love to, yeah, like, I'd love to. And they always friendly, even if you found
Mhm.
they are like friendly, they will never go, like, they will never get angry, which, like, I fail, I often get upset.
Me
um
too.
so I should talk to them, like, about Wing. There is this thing that you guys at Kujira, you hate different competing, not competing projects. For example, many people think that Kujira community hate Osmosis. Why do you hate Osmosis, KP?
Shit, fucking, you got me here. What do I even say to that? Um, I don't think. I think from the very beginning of, uh, when Kujira came into Cosmos, we were not at all welcomed by any of them for good reason. And you've seen it happen with any of these new projects that come in. That Zaki will come out with a shill instantly, or Osmosis are instantly supporting them with a token listing and this and this and this. We didn't get that, and there was a reason for that. And in my humble opinion, I think that a lot of them felt threatened. And in the last sort of year and a half, the events that have unfolded, I think they should have felt threatened, because we're slowly taking their lunch and XYZ. But it didn't have to always be like that, and it really didn't. We could have worked together somewhat synergistically, or at least just not with hostility, right? But this is just the way that it's transfolded. And it wasn't necessarily Sunny himself for a very long time. It was just the part of their community, or even just lower down within Osmosis. And the Kepler guys, for example, would say some shit, and you just essentially, or you immediately believe that that's the belief of everyone within Osmosis. And then you got these two tribalistic communities just getting angry with each other 24/7. So it just bubbles and bubbles and bubbles from something that was quite small. But for quite a while, I at least respected that the two founders were on civil terms. Dove would always respect Sunny, and Sunny would always respect Dove, and it wouldn't matter until somewhat recently, when Sunny had that weird sort of tantrum outburst about the Kujira community and all of these different things. I'm sure he's fine now, because the price has gone up, and it's all happy days for those guys. But I think it showed a lot of true colors. And I'm willing to bury the hatchet. I don't really care. I find it fun to take the piss out of the Osmosis guys, and I'm sure they find it fun to take the piss out of me. It's just the way that it works. I don't think that we all have to be happy, happy bunnies, and working together all the time. We are competition. It's fun. It's good to have that. We're keeping them on their toes. They're keeping us on ours. So yeah, I don't hate it. I honestly, I really enjoy it. In fact, Sunny has messaged me, and we've spoken in DMs just about just reconciling things somewhat. Um, and yeah, I feel like I've died down a little bit more recently. But
Yeah, they price went up, and people were saying that Kujira people are now quiet. They don't attack Osmosis anymore. There is, like, so I saw the tweets that the people don't talk about market caps anymore.
yeah,
But yeah, like, good for them. But yeah, I get that. Like, my reasons was different. Like, I think, like, new guys, I really thought Kujira is like some sort of grift from Terra. Like, I completely didn't know, right? Like, so
yeah,
that was very, very, very different. And I really didn't like Oni Validator, who's been like supportive of Kujira early on. So that was also like something probably there, because yeah, he onboarded Loop also. So I was assuming, like, yeah, that's like he onboarded fucking scams. So
Yeah.
that was my thinking. So but yeah, like I'll tell you, I heard that from like founders uh calling, like, you know, Kujira shillers or scams, right? um like I was told that, but the same people, like if you would accuse them of doing something, they get furious at the same time, but like and they react, why you are attacking, why you assume that already, but like, you know, why you assume that we did this, or but at the same time themselves founders would judge other like makes baseless accusations of other projects, right? Like they act the same way,
Well,
they don't want to be treated. So like
I,
when I attack them, they are like, those are baseless accusations, but you did the
yeah,
same about someone
yeah.
else. So like I
It's
think
all just politics, isn't it? Right? Like, and a lot of this game is, especially in Cosmos, which is perhaps what is the worst part of this ecosystem, is that politics dominates it over actual product and actual building and actual, you know, real use case and real value to any sort of investors. So yeah, I think maybe that was what was also just pretty irritating about it all, was that you know, instead of focusing on their own products and focusing on the things that they should be fixing, um, you know, they were more focused on us. And
yeah,
not once did we ever go after them first, not once. And I know that's a petty thing to say, like, oh, you did it first, so we're going to do it back. But it, I put a tweet out about this a couple months ago. They drew the line. They pushed it as far as they could. And then when they realized that it had backfired on them and they'd galvanized this community to go against the grain and go against everything that they'd stood for, they then
yeah,
push back and were like, "Oh, the community are this, and they're terrible people, and they're rah, 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 rah."
yeah,
So I think they massively regret doing what they've done, and you know, maybe I would too.
yeah. Well, I saw many people affiliated with other products, they were giving shout outs to Kujira when it was trending, so it's good. And and one thing you cannot decline, some of the native apps, you know, the order book, I don't think there is better order book in Cosmos than Kujira, and you cannot deny that. Like it is literally the best, you know. The liquidation market is the first liquidation market in Cosmos, maybe in crypto.
In crypto, yeah.
That was even the Agoric guys were inspired by this and tried to copy that, I think, or something like that, or something with the IST. Uh,
I don't know anything about that, to be fair.
you have lending borrowing, right? So like those applications speak for itself when you actually use that, and the NatSac is other. Um, what are your favorite applications, or the ones you are most excited about?
For me personally, perps, I think it's going to be incredibly funny just to short as much as I can and post that on Twitter, because if I lose and I get liquidated, so what? I'm paying, you know, the whoever's providing the liquidity. If I win, it's just a massive engagement thing on Twitter that you're pushing perps on the Kujira platform, and you're probably pissing off whoever that you're shorting as well. So you're just getting a lot of interest in perps going on, right? So I think perps will be a good money maker for Kujira as a whole. I think leveraged yield farming is not something that I'd use myself, or I won't use, but Kujira itself will, the team will, Manta will, all of these people that want to provide protocol owned liquidity, that is, you know, allows them to leverage their assets to do that, you know, multiples more, or you know, twofold, threefold more. So we should see liquidity on Fin sort of rocket, which would be good, especially, you know, just for general trade execution. The one that I use the most though is literally just Fin. You know, just buying and selling assets is what I love doing, what I'm good at. I don't necessarily have enough time to run strategies at the moment. I LP a lot, probably to my own, uh, you know, not to my benefit, more so just because, you know, we need this liquidity. Um, and you know, something that, you know, again, I'm in a privileged position that I've been paid by this Kujira team to just be a cheerleader and use these products and market them. And do Kujira Academy and do Penguins, all of these different things, right? So because I'm privileged to do that, I'm happy to LP and provide liquidity to give back to the people that have given to me. Ghost is obviously the lending part of Ghost I use relatively often, especially for the stable coins. This guy's in the chat. Yes, they are closed source. That's not.
Yeah, like everyone knows that, Tasha. Like we were just talking about. I thought you were just asking. But Tasha, like from my perspective, I was against that, right? I was thinking that like it's dangerous. The crypto is about open source, but there was actually examples of in Cosmos examples where the code was stolen, or where the lines of code from one protocol without any acknowledgement were found in the other protocol. And I think open source is very important. I'd love to see Kujira open source one day, but I think like if you want to see open source, I think the certain open source values have to be upheld, and like people need to respect each other. And
Okay.
because if you don't have that, if you don't have the mutual understanding, collaboration, but you will have people trying to maybe steal ideas. And I looking at Kujira, and you surely have hesitance from many other protocols. Could there be dangers that other protocols would try to tap to the products that Kujira built and take the share of the market? I think it would be fair to assume that it is, right? So I think, yeah, like I'm sure the end game for Kujira is the open source. um but yeah, like I think all ecosystem have to actually like upheld those values, because I saw the examples and wasn't. And I think at the end Kujira will be. So I understand like you are a little afraid that there might be exploit. um Maybe. Like everyone should, like I'm risking, right? I'm using Kujira. There might be exploit. The good thing is I know that Hans found the exploit in other Cosmos protocols.
This is
uh
what I mean. This is the most annoying part of this conversation, and what I got annoyed about in November was that you've got these people championing for it must be open source because I must be able to check this and verify that it's okay. And then the fucking same code that they've checked and verified is okay gets exploited the next fucking
yeah,
week. Happens time and time again, whether you're open or closed source. It doesn't matter. If someone wants to exploit a protocol and it's not built in a way that prevents that happening, it's gonna happen.
yeah.
But
um on my Sorry if that battery is annoying a little bit. I was charging before. So yeah, that doesn't, I think the words that open source prevents exploit, I've seen tons of exploits in open source. I don't think it does prevent. But yeah, according to what Dove said, like one day, you cannot compare Kuji to DYDX. And DYDX is open source ham. I think if Kuji would be in position of DYDX, it would be
well,
different
they're
thought.
they're open source with off-chain matching as well. So I mean, is that even really open source? If they
Yeah, Hans was
control
laughing at that a little bit. So yeah, like you have so that open source rhetoric is often manipulated as well a little bit. And yeah, Kujira is the startup, and I think they built so I decided to just enjoy the applications they built. You were speaking of perps. um you're not afraid that there might be too much competition? So we have the YDX, right? There is Levana, but there is also another like Hyperliquid. I think Hyperliquid is the best, so
Yeah.
like I was using Hyperliquid, and like I like it more than DYDX. But I really think it's amazing, which is actually Tendermint chain itself. Like
Yeah.
so do you think that this market is not too saturated? Do you think Kujira can come with something novel with the perps and give people even better experience, that they will use it over alternative?
Yeah. So I think to be on the safe side, right? If they don't provide anything novel and it's just the exact same experience as any of these other ones, right? It won't matter because what I've found in crypto especially is that once capital is in one place, it's not difficult. There is friction in moving it to other places, or people are just lazy with their capital and they keep it in one place. So Kujira offers a place where you can borrow this yield, and then you can perps, and then you can do this, and you can do that, and it's all in one single place. Why would they move out? You know, if it means that their trade execution is 20% better, then of course go to another place. You're going to earn more money and blah 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 blah. But there will be a product market fit for someone, and especially the Kujira community, which, you know, every single day rides out for every sort of product that we even put, right? So it will be used. I'm not at all worried about that. And I'm also not worried about, you know, the competition, because how many perp dexes are there? Fucking hundreds at this point. Hundreds. Some are better than others. Some are worse, and whatever. But point being that these guys, they generate revenue, serious numbers of revenue, serious volume goes through their books, and for what is uh, on a user interface side, not much sort of changes between them. Obviously, on the back end, that's where the money is made, and that's where these guys are set themselves apart. But I don't think that the team needs to do necessarily too much different for this to still be incredibly successful for Kujira as a whole. And I think within Cosmos itself, so you mentioned Hyperliquid. I think that sort of transcends Cosmos now. You know, you've got people from all over crypto that are using Hyperliquid, especially for their points based system now and a potential airdrop. And I completely agree with you that UI UX is incredible. I've used it myself, and I enjoy using Hyperliquid. Within Cosmos itself, though, are there too many that you can say are natively Cosmos based? I mean, obviously we've seen Nirvana, but that's had a pretty troubled start, and even so, they do incredible revenue and good numbers. So, am I worried? No. Do I think that they'll come out with a lot of things that will change the game? For sure. This is Hans we're talking about. He's not someone that just copies and pastes and adds a few bells and whistles onto it. He'll have his own unique twist, and it will have composability ingrained into it. And more importantly, it will be on Sonar, on a mobile app that you can use every single sort of Kujira app within it. And yeah, you just got all your capital in one place and all the different things that you want to do with it.
Yeah. Yeah, in Cosmos we really have only Levana, and it's not ideal because it relies on the issue of that. But the similar issue might be with Kujira, like, you know, the few second blocks are not perfect. I think they're like some that's the issue from that. But of course it can Kujira can improve the block time, right? But it will require much more skilled validators. I think so. That's the risk, and I think the end game will be spinning this up. But like, that's one. And Levana on Osmosis, you know, you have 15 minutes a day when Osmosis is down, which is like, if you are a trader, like, that's not something I want to see, right? So yeah, like the real competition, I would think, like in Cosmos, yeah, like I think Kujira doesn't have downtime, so like there is still not, the space is not as saturated. I know Mars Protocol wants perps as well, so there will be on Neutron. So there should be some like competing, but to be honest, I'm also like most excited about Kuji perps because I want to see what Hannes is bringing. Because when it comes to other perps, I know it will be just like the other perps. And like I want to see what's the Hans twist on top, like what he did, what's unique there, what's special, right? I was just actually looking. So that's interesting because everyone was very excited about DYDX on Cosmos, and like it's great platform, right? Like, and to be honest, I think they are struggling because in the bear market, when there was way less volume, if you look, they were doing like 2 billion a day. They're not going up. They actually went, they like now when the whole market pumped, they were doing the same volumes as they were doing during the bear market when there was no competition. While Hyperliquid went from like nearly nothing a few months ago to what's now 400 million, which is like half of DYDX within months.
In 24 hours, did you say?
Yeah, 360 million volume is Hyperliquid. And DYDX is 800 million. and UIDX was doing those like up to 2 billion, and it doesn't go up. You have Vertex, which is 250 million. Like, and I think people are stealing share of the UIDX just like for more degen pairs, and they came to Cosmos and they don't have degen pairs. They have main pairs that no one wants to trade anymore. And I think like so it's
I
exciting.
think that's one of their mistakes, right? Is that the Cosmos-based perps, they'll try and compete against Ethereum or Arbitrum perps on the same pairs. You can't. The liquidity there is orders of magnitude higher, so you literally can't. You have to just tailor it to the ecosystem itself.
Like do the like very like perps that people want, right? Levana was great at this. I think actually like was they listed a lot of Cosmos native pairs, but again the best I think is Winner, like the Degen's bad, but they have just the like I'm losing because they have 100 to 2000x leverage, but they have like Jito, Tia, Bonk. They always list the Degen pairs, which keep like I think that's very exciting, and I think there will be a lot of great ones hopefully in Cosmos, with that. Looking, do you know when we can expect perps? Do you
No, it's coming close. There was I don't know if I can say that. It's coming close. It's coming close. Look, everyone wants a date. The thing with developing and releasing these products is that a lot can happen between the point where you're like, yeah, I'm very happy with this product, let's go into testing, and then you feel like, okay, well, there's this thing that could be tweaked and this and this and this. But especially more importantly with Kujira, if we have a new, for example, unstake, if that becomes the priority for a few days, then that is the priority. We get that out first, and then that's finished, and we move on to perps afterwards. So any of these things that come in the way obviously just delay the time. And it would be worse to come out and say, yeah, we're going to do it Jan 31st. It's going to be out then. And then, it just doesn't come out. So I think that's what Kujira always does well. We don't do the bullshit announcements of announcements. We don't try to hype into it. It's literally just, boom, here's the product, have fun with it. And if it's worth something, you'll tell us, and it will reflect in the value of the token and just value within the ecosystem itself as well.
And it's still a relatively small team. Like that, this is also like
tiny.
Because and there is so many products. So I think that's a little bit of the difficulty to deliver all of that with essentially few people. One thing to add about perps, I think there is this guy. I think he's involved into Kujira. I forgot his name. He was been tweeting that Kujira works on their own Oracle as well. So the Oracle exploit that happened with Levana wouldn't happen. I'm not sure exactly what was exploit, but there was some issue with Oracle. But yeah, there will be Kujira will work on their own Oracle. So to I guess minimize.
We already have our own Oracle baked into the chain itself. But what they're doing with it is they're freeing up a lot of block space, basically, which then allows us to do things like perps or all of these different DeFi things. But yeah, by freeing up the block space and just getting it to a point where you have a verifiable and reliable Oracle is obviously massively important to perps. So
yeah. KKP, thank you very much. If we missed something that you wanted to say, you could mention, like, insane, like 70 people watching. I don't know what's going on. Every time I have someone from Kujira is just crazy. Like I never did these numbers. Like with Dove, I think I had the highest numbers, like was like also similar to this. But like whenever I would have like anything else in Cosmos, 20 was good.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I appreciate everyone for tuning in. No, so just I guess something that I want to show myself. Two things actually. So Plucky Penguins at the moment are doing a $2,000 incentivized competition. Tomorrow's one is minting USK. Just follow the Plucky Penguins Twitter and you'll have all of the information there. It's literally just mint the USK, get your transaction ID, put it into a Google Forms, and at the end of it, one faction wins out of the mantas, the penguins, and shrimps. when one of those wins, you'll get a load of these rewards distributed to you. We're doing bid on pilot. We're doing provide liquidity on Bow. We're doing 7-day volume on Manta Swap. Just basically using all of the Kujira products. Make sure you get your submissions in, and we'll literally pay you to use them yourself. So yeah, that's something that I'm very excited about, and something, you know, I just want to. I found it massively in especially converting Solana people into Kujira, that all they need is a little push. All they need is a tiny little incentive that then gets them to do, you know, 50 grand of liquidity that just suddenly comes in, which is wild. So yeah, that's Plucky Penguins. And then obviously on top of that, I've got Kujira Academy. We're looking for people, especially in the US. We're expanding into the US now. So if you want to be an ambassador for Kujira, which just means, you know, spread the ethos and the vision of Kujira and our products within your local community, I can get you paid to do that, no problem. We can also get you paid to create content for us as well. So just reach out if you want to create some content, or if you're so passionate about Kujira that you think you're willing enough to spread the vision in your community. And we'll be starting that again in January, early January. And that's everything.
Yeah, here is the Plucky Penguins Twitter. So go to Twitter, and there is the Discord. So you go on Twitter, and there's link to Discord. You will find this, and I believe you will be able to get any answers from KP or other people involved there. This is, I think this is your way to get involved. This is your blockchain to get involved, because while many other blockchains are focused on hiring people, you know, the marketing leads and so on, this is the blockchain where you can actually participate and get rewarded by participations. Really, Kujira is the community chain that you always wanted in Cosmos. That would be my take. Everyone is happy for seeing you doxed. People say I was polite. Thank you very much. I'm naturally polite. Arsenal is gonna win a Premier League this year.
Don't say that, man. Oh, I hope so.
How are they doing?
I really do.
How are they doing now?
Well, we're second. We're second at the moment, but we lost yesterday, so that was interesting.
That's a shame. On Thursday there was the game on Thursday.
Yeah, and we got one on Sunday as well. So.
I need to get this one. I'm back. Yeah. So thank you very much. Merry Christmas past Christmas, and KP, enjoy your New Year. Happy New Year whenever, and thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming. This conversation stay up for anyone who wants to rewatch since the start. And yeah, I guess we'll see more Kujira content coming. So thank you. Take care.